If you're sitting there wondering why the hell are you wearing a Star Wars Christmas sweater if the season is already over, the reason is the Book of Boba Fett. Yes, indeed, if you are not aware, after 39 long years, Boba Fett is back and he's better than ever. As a product of the Mandalorian Season 2 finale, we are getting a new weekly show on Disney Plus called The Book of Boba Fett, detailing the adventures of our main man and his friend Fennec Shand. So far, we have 2 episodes already in the docket, and I wanted to talk about them a little bit today because they are absolutely crazy. Episode 1 was titled Strangers in a Strange Land, which might have left a couple of you scratching your head because the last time that we saw Boba Fett, he was sending our man Bib Fortuna on a permanent vacation at Jabba's palace. Honestly, the best thing about this episode is how they were able to handle over 30 years of storytelling in a couple of minutes.
I am Boba Fett.
And why is that? Well, we got to see exactly how Boba Fett got out of the Sarlacc pit. I gotta say, I'm not usually a fan of flashbacks as a storytelling medium, but in this case, I will make an exception. I mean, we see flashes from Boba's memories in Kamino, his home planet, then cradling his father's head at the end of the fight in Geonosis, and then finally after his supposed death at the end of Return of the Jedi. That shot of him bursting out of the sand was absolutely iconic, and while the timing is a little bit fuzzy, it is a great way to start the series. However, we need to address the big elephant in the room. Boba Fett is known as a bounty hunter, and making a career switch from that to being a crime lord is going to be harder than it looks. I mean, think about it. Straight after he goes to the cantina at Mos Espa to try to consolidate Jabba's empire, he's greeted by assassins from the Night Wind. I don't know about you, but getting greeted by assassins your first day on the job is a little bit hostile to me. Nevertheless, I have to tip my cap off at Robert Rodriguez, the director, and the amazing writer Jon Favreau for making the first episode as gripping and entertaining as possible, while also placing a huge emphasis on expanding the Star Wars lore. Biggest takeaway from episode 1, Boba Fett is still haunted by the ghosts of his past. Also, besides Fennec Shand, I would not trust a single soul at Mos Espa, especially since we know he hasn't healed from his time in the Sarlacc pit and from helping the Sand People. Speaking of the Sand People, the Tusken Raiders are sure to be a huge part of Boba Fett's character development moving forward, and that leads us conveniently into episode 2. The name of the episode is The Tribes of Tatooine, and holy hell, this thing delivered. First off, let's not get too ahead of ourselves. Let's cover the present timeline. After capturing the last of the assassins in the first episode, we get to see a nice callback to the Rancor pit during the interrogation scene. Not gonna lie, if it were me and somebody gave me an ultimatum to do that tango with a Rancor or share my deepest, darkest secrets, I would sing like a canary. Obviously, the assassin had to lie, and thus we get a confrontation between Fennec Shand, Boba Fett, and the mayor of Mos Espa, which the assassin accused. This is where we meet Mok Shaiz, the mayor of Mos Espa. He might be sleazy, but he do be honorable. How do we know that? He sends our boy the assassin to the Shadow Realm because he was operating outside of Hutt territory, which is a big no-no in the crime world. For the meantime, what I gathered is that the mayor is not going to be a threat for now, but I don't trust him. As we know by now, Boba Fett is not following the traditional rules of engagement set forth by Jabba the Hutt during his regime. He doesn't travel by litter. He doesn't use fear to rule his subjects. That will obviously lead to a confrontation. You guessed it, this is exactly the perfect moment for the episode to take a huge turn because we get 2 of the biggest reveals in the episode. In typical bad guy fashion, we get the distant sound of drums sending everybody into silence within the cantina, and that sends Boba Fett to the outside. Lo and behold, we get to see the 2 challengers for his daimyo throne in Tatooine, a brother and sister Hutt combo known as the Twins. Interestingly enough, this brother-sister duo are none other than the cousins of Jabba the Hutt trying to claim his vacant territory. Of course, you know our boy Boba was not gonna back down that easy, and he said, "Ayo, time to head back home because I'm the daimyo here."
Yes, motherfucker, you did.
Now, up until this point, we don't have that much context into the family of Jabba the Hutt, so I don't think these 2 have shown up that much in the past, but I could be wrong. I'm a dumbass. However, this next reveal had everybody with their jaws on the floor and their eyes gaping with excitement. Our Hutt Double Trouble combo decided to show a little bit of force by revealing their muscle. Ladies and gentlemen, for the first time ever in live action, we get our first look at the infamous Wookiee bounty hunter known only as Black Chrysanthemum. If you are sitting there saying, who the heck is that? I got you. Black Chrysanthemum was originally introduced in 2015 during the Darth Vader #1 comics. And curiously enough, he's also rumored to be showing up in The Mandalorian Season 3. To give you a brief history on his background, he is an exiled Wookiee who left Kashyyyk after being captured and enslaved by the Trandoshans. The Trandoshans are another famous alien race who are usually represented by the main bounty hunter known as Bosk. All you need to know, Wookiees and Trandoshans do not like each other. It's like oil and water. Boba didn't necessarily feel scared to see him, but you know for damn sure that he was paying attention. He knows exactly who he's dealing with. And why is that? Because they both have history together. After escaping from the Trandoshans, Black Chrysanthemum went over to the Shunti brothers' gladiatorial arena pits to hone his skills, which essentially made him one of the deadliest bounty hunters in the entire galaxy. And boy, did that pay off, because subsequently he started to work under Jabba the Hutt. The crazy thing is that he also started to work with Boba Fett under Darth Vader when he personally requested Jabba the Hutt's 2 best bounty hunters for his personal use. His story is really interesting, especially his relationship with Darth Vader and Dr. Aphra, but more on that later. After the Book of Boba, I think we're going to be able to see him in The Mandalorian Season 3 or in The Kenobi Show. All you need to know from him is that he will square up on sight. Just as things were starting to get good and crispy in the present timeline, we're back into the flashbacks. Boba is currently getting trained by the Tusken Raiders, and honestly, this episode does a great job of humanizing them because we learn that not all the tribes are hostile. They hold an ancestral claim to the land of Tatooine. I mean, they were populated there since the planet still had water on it. And now, as we see from the episode, they have spice runners going through their territory doing literal drive-bys on them. After a back and forth of blast fire, we get an inside scoop at why Boba Fett is so efficient. He goes into town, fights off a couple of gangsters, and gets a lot of speeders for the Tusken Raiders to fight off the bullet train. This is one of the best instances of character development because we see Boba Fett making a concerted effort to learn the ways of the Tuskens and try to help them overcome their issues with technology. Beautiful storytelling on the hand of Jon Favreau, man. They overcame a language barrier to accentuate the fact that Boba is becoming one of the Tuskens. What unfolds after that is probably one of the best train scenes I've seen in a while. If we learned anything from that scene is that Boba is a master tactician even in a group. He led the Tusken Raiders with absolute fearlessness and was able to prove himself by taking down the Spice Runners. And would you look at that, in one of the best scenes of nonchalant and cool concerted effort, he spared the lives of the Pikes. In case you don't remember them, the Pikes are a criminal syndicate that was mentioned in the Clone Wars and also showed up in the Solo movie. Essentially, they're the ones that operate the illegal spice mines in Kessel. However, as notorious as they may be, they ran into the wrong man.
These are mine.
Because through his deeds, Boba Fett has officially set up a tax that sets up the Tusken Raiders both in water and money. From that day forward, no one can pass through Tusken territory without paying that tax. After that, it gets absolutely crazy. We get a Pink Floyd level psychedelic scene because as a token of his appreciation, the Tusken leader gives a gift to Boba Fett in the shape of a lizard that goes into his brain and forces him to face his trauma. The lizard is a guide that forces him through a vision on the sand. We physically see Boba struggle as he's forced to relive the most traumatic memories from his past. From his time in the Sarlacc pit to seeing his dad getting yeeted in the Battle of Geonosis, and then he has to surrender himself in a magical tree. In a pretty beautiful display of symbolism, he surrenders himself to the experience, lets go of the burdens of his trauma and his past, and takes a tree branch as a token. With that said, the ending of this episode was absolutely breathtaking. We got to see Boba create his own gaffi stick and be inducted into the Tusken Order by a ceremonial dance. Overall, these 2 episodes were a great way to start the show, and I can't wait to see what happens next. Overall, I would rate the first episode as a solid 8.9 out of 10. It got me excited for a new story in a way that was really different from The Mandalorian, but it still kept that Western charm. However, episode 2 is a completely different story. This thing had me glued to the television from start to finish. I would gladly give it a solid 9.4 out of 10. You may consider me impressed by the visuals, the physical storytelling, and the amazing score. If you made it to the end of the video, I apologize for the lack of organization. It do be like that in these streets. I wanted to take the time to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for supporting the journey. We're almost at 17,000 subscribers. So as we get closer to the goal of 100K subs this year, make sure to hit that like, make sure to comment, share, and hit that notification bell icon so you can get instant notifications for whenever I go live or whenever I post a video. Speaking of streaming, I will be making some major changes to the stream to start 2022 in the best way possible. I will try to get the first stream of the year next Saturday. At what time? I don't know. Your boy is busy, so make sure you check out my Twitter, my Instagram, and my other social media platforms so you can get instant updates as to when I go live. Just to let you know, I will be making more weekly videos about Star Wars, anime, video games, everything under the sun. But alas, that is it from me. So make sure you drop a smile, stay safe, and I'll see you on the next one. Blow!